This week on No More Late Fees, we're hopping on the tour bus and chasing the rock and roll dream with Cameron Crowe's iconic coming of age story, Almost Famous.
Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies of the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we're revisiting Almost Famous from 2000, where golden gods are created, band-aids are more than just groupies, and Penny Lane is the blueprint for manic pixie girl energy. But before we dive in, let's get into some housekeeping. If you love the podcast and our beautiful melodic voices, make sure you support us. Listen to how you can.
You can buy us a cup of coffee on Ko-fi.com. Every contribution helps us keep the Blockbuster vibes alive. Visit us at ko-fi.com/no
Want more hot takes, deep dives, and behind the scenes fun? Join our Patreon for exclusive bonus episodes and perks at patreon.com/no more late fees.
And if you're looking for nostalgic merch to add to your collection, check out our Amazon store for curated picks inspired by the 90s and 2000s. And Danielle is currently curating a K-pop Demon Hunter list. You are big into K-pop Demon Hunter, head over to amazon.com/shop/no more late fees podcast.
And we're super excited because this week we're not alone. We are joined by our friend, ska enthusiast, and six-time returning guest, Nick.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Good to be back. Always a pleasure.
What is it called when you purposely like to be tortured?
That would be a masochist. Yes. So I had to. I was like, "Is it? No, you're the sadist. I'm the masochist." That's right. That's right.
Well, if you want to learn more about Nick, check out his previous episodes of Monsters Inc., Clerks, GoldenEye, Life Aquatic, and Heartbreakers. I feel like Heartbreakers is your break. That's where you don't get raked over the coals as much, I believe, out of all the episodes.
I think we all generally kind of vibed with Heartbreakers more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. But I think every other one
I feel
I
like
don't know.
Clerks wasn't too bad. I think we were all kind of on the same
page with that one.
Right.
Too.
We were all equally disappointed in Clerks.
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. is where it really
kicked off.
He's probably never going to come back, and that was your first episode. So.
Well, and if you can't get enough of Nick after those episodes, make sure you check out our bonus episode where we identified actors who have been in that thing that one time with Ken's cues. So it's a fun one. So definitely check it out. But Jackie, tell us, what is Almost Famous about?
Almost Famous is a semi-autobiographical dramedy about chasing dreams, finding identity, and the messy magic of rock and roll. The film follows 15-year-old aspiring journalist William Miller, who lands the assignment of a lifetime when Rolling Stone sends him on tour with rising rock band Stillwater. Along the way, William navigates backstage chaos, band egos, and his growing bond with the enigmatic Band-Aids, led by the unforgettable Penny Lane. Packed with killer performances, sharp writing, and a legendary soundtrack, Almost Famous captures the bittersweet ride of youth, fame, and the music that defines a generation. It stars Patrick Fugit, Billy Crudup, Frances McDormand, Kate Hudson, Jason Lee, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was written and directed by Cameron Crowe, and you can currently watch it on Pluto TV and Paramount Plus. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
So, you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we will reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Trash. Straight up trash.
Okay, Nick, we'll start with you. What is your Y2K rating of Almost Famous?
Would buy it again. As a matter of fact, I pulled the copy off my shelf because I still have the one that I bought in 2000. It's like a collector's edition. It has a Stillwater CD in it.
Ooh.
Yeah. And for a long, long time, I would list this when people would ask, I would list this as my number two favorite movie of all time,
Hmm.
behind Swingers, which I haven't rewatched Swingers in 20 years, so don't
Ooh.
check me on that list. But Y2K version of me would call this my second favorite movie of all time. Loved it.
Jackie?
Would buy it again. You know, like we were early Kate Hudson adopters. So anything that she was in, I was gonna watch. I think she's just electric in this movie. You can't take your eyes off of her. Yeah, I watched this many a time.
And for me,
Danielle,
I've never seen this.
really?
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued now.
Yes.
It just never seemed like something I cared to watch.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Tell us
All
about
right.
the box office.
Yeah. So this movie had a budget of 60 million dollars. Oh, Lord. And it made $47 million. Despite its excellent reviews, it did underperform compared to its budget and was considered a financial disappointment for DreamWorks in 2000. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, said, "Oh, what a lovely film. I was almost hugging myself while I watched it. Funny and touching in so many different ways." Peter Travers from the Rolling Stone said, "If you haven't already sold your soul to rock and roll, Almost Famous should seal the deal." And then San Francisco Chronicle said, "A, a sweet but curiously unfulfilling story." Okay. Very interesting takes.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Chronicle is written by people with black hearts and hate things.
Well, I'm definitely interested to hear how you guys feel about the movie. I don't have any nostalgia for it,
Mm,
so
yeah.
it should be interesting.
Yep. Well, before we get into the cast and crew, let's hear a message from our pod pals.
Hi there, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Anne.
We have been Drew Barrymore historians and, more importantly, friends for over 25 years.
In 2006, we started our website, The Drewseum, and haven't stopped sharing our collections, knowledge, and love for Miss Barrymore since then.
And after talking about it for years and years, the next obvious step was to start a podcast.
We already have more than 100 episodes discussing Drew's filmography, relationships, magazine features, business endeavors, and so much more.
And that includes plenty of 90s nostalgia and our personal encounters with Drew herself to boot. Yes, we have a lot of those. We're pretty lucky. So we're so excited to nerd out about our girl Drew and find out, how do you Drew?
So, cast and crew, this was Kate Hudson's breakout role. She was originally cast in a smaller role, but when Sarah Polley dropped out, she landed Penny Lane, a performance that earned her a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination.
I think, I have a short list of white girls I go ham for.
Yeah.
Sarah Polley is one of those Canadian baddies that I love because Avonlea. And when we do Dawn of the Dead, you won't hear the end of that.
Yes.
But I will say she would have done fine. It wouldn't have been bad. But there was something magical about Kate Hudson playing this role. I don't even think the girl is playing a role. Like, this is Kate Hudson.
Yeah. I mean, she is married, like
every musician she's procreated with.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was,
and I think Sarah Polley has a little bit of an edge where it wouldn't have come off as kind of just whimsical and sweet.
Yeah. It's interesting watching her character because we all know the stories of the groupies and knowing how young they were and just like watching this, and she's 16, so she says, is wild business. But she does have she's able to play the like feminine wiles about her, the mysteriousness about her, but also the innocence, which I think is key because she is that young.
Yes.
There's like I hate to even say a childlike way about her. Then we have, this is also Patrick Fugit's big break. He was only 16 and pretty unknown, and he was chosen after his audition tape impressed Crowe. His wide-eyed innocence was exactly what the role needed, which is true because like he's still pretty innocent at the end, but you do see this whole where his rose-colored glasses are broken, and he does such a good job being able to showcase both sides.
Yeah, I really, his performance, like there's moments where I don't know if you ever have this kind of realization where like somebody's like singing is so good that they could pretend to be a bad singer because they control their singing so well to sound like they're bad.
Yeah.
Like there were moments when Patrick Fugit in this role, like he's supposed to be this, he is like this very young kid playing this on this coming of age journey. But then there's moments at the end where he's trying to be the professional, like established, like mysterious, like he's like, but even in those moments, he sounds like he's not that. Like he's like bad at acting,
Right.
like a grown up.
Right.
Like, oh, it was so well cast and so well performed of like having that so much of that innocence that even like he can't even pretend, or he's like pretending so well. He's acting so well that he's pretending to be a grown up when he's not. And it's like, anyways,
Yes.
like all the layers of that, I was like, were so perfect. Similar with Kate Hudson, about like the layers of the innocence mixed with the mystery. I'm like, it was so well cast and so well performed.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
every last person cast in this movie just like nailed their role.
But I feel like there is a weakest link in the actors.
And who was that? Zoe Deschanel?
Yes. Yeah. There are like, you can't be in a scene with Frances McDormand. Like, your
Perfection.
flaws is everything's going to be exposed when you're going toe to toe with an actor like that. There's no hiding it. Now we love Zoe and her vibes, and then that's what it is. It's vibes. And I think in Elf she was really good. Like in a lot of the roles where she's kind of playing almost
she has a type.
Anti girly, what she can fall right into. I find that to be more fun when she plays those roles. Like in Yes Man, Elf, there's another movie, Failure to Launch. I like when she's kind of in those roles. But even some of the lines that when she's saying goodbye to her brother, it's just very like, I just read them from a piece of paper, you know? So I was like, damn, she took me, like everybody else, I was in the world. But when
Yeah,
she started, I was like, damn, this bitch took me out.
that's fair. I was thinking like I was a bit surprised when you first said that because I think like her look fits the era really well. So like she looks good on the poster, like she looks good in the costumes, like she looks like she fits. But you're right, like as soon as she starts dialoguing with Frances McDormand, it's like, that ain't it.
Even Michael, the boy who plays the younger version of Patrick Fugit, what's his character's name?
William.
Who plays the younger. I mean, he's a child actor. He is very good.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you have this trio and she's the one kind of throwing off the entire dynamic.
Yeah. This was her second movie.
Yeah. She didn't do horrible, but there were times where I was just like,
no. And like it's easy to say, oh, this is only her second movie, but Kate Hudson, I think this was only like her third or fourth movie. Like,
yeah.
So.
And it's crazy. Like, there's a lot of people who were child actors in this movie, which, you know, you've got Anna Paquin, you've got Michael, you've got Fairuza. How do you say? Fairuza. Okay. So it was just like interesting to see all these people kind of pop up. But yeah, poor thing. She was the weakest link. I think we should do that on every episode. Well, who was the
Yeah.
weakest link in the cast?
You are the weakest link.
Yeah.
Like you said, like with Frances McDormand, like she was just out of her weight class. Like she was
Yeah.
just, yeah.
That's
She
a
was
hard, that's a
overmatched.
hard thing to,
Yeah.
but Michael, again, Michael
Yeah, he
he
held his
was
own.
holding his own. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
And then Lester Bangs, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, he filmed all of his scenes in just 4 days while sick with the flu, yet delivered one of the most memorable roles in the film. I just loved how he comes off or tries it's almost the same as like William, where it's like I try to portray I'm like this big bad writer, but really I'm just like this music nerd that just loves the music so much I need to write about it. And like at the end, I love how he kind of guides William in that direction. Like, we're not cool. We write about the cool people.
So it's kind of weird, and I'm gonna try to, I'm just gonna say a bunch of stuff and see if it comes out how I like I'm trying to mind dump.
Right.
But one of the things about, for me, walking in a world that is predominantly white in certain ways, it's always a very interesting feeling because like you're watching stuff happen and you're like, this shit's stupid. But it's like another person's world in reality. So you kind of just like, you could think it and you don't say it because everybody else is kind of like gassing the same shit up. But just growing up, there was like a lot of dudes, a lot of white dudes that were, it's just very pseudo intellectual. And you're watching them say stuff with pretty words and big words and not saying shit. Like it's word diarrhea, right? But nobody's calling this shit out. People are eating it up, and it's just like a bunch of people inflating other people's egos, and it's just such a weird dynamic. And I find it so much more in arenas where I'm with white people. I don't see it as much in other places. The authenticity isn't always social currency in those in that group.
Right.
Like everybody's okay with the facade of it. So when I saw this character, it's like I know this man. It's not him, but I know someone like him.
Yes.
Do you guys, did I say
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. And I think like I think you're spot on. But I think watching this film now, I think one of the interesting things about the film is that it creates that and then tries to poke holes in that, right? It kind of like the idea is that Stillwater and all the people around them are kind of trying their best to kind of create this facade of a world because they're so scared of anything that is authentic and real.
Yeah.
And so they're all kind of trading these, fantasies and kind of playing these roles and like, but it's none of it. They all think that for each other inside this world, that's what matters. But like William comes along and kind of pokes a little hole in that and be like, what are you doing? And I think like I really appreciated Lester's character because I think on the one hand, he's a writer and so he comes up with these like zingy lines and kind of these like interesting metaphors to articulate this. But then eventually, like as he kind of talks to William more and more, he's like, all right, enough with here's what I said when I was like in writer mode, but what I'm trying to say is actually
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he kind of like gives it to him straight and real to kind of keep William on this path of like, don't get sucked into this fantasy world because
It's not real.
it's not
Right.
real. But I think you're right. I think there's so many spaces, especially spaces of power and privilege, where we're all trying to just uphold this facade of like how good and how cool and how great we all are, and we're just kind of shaking each other's hands and high-fiving each other. And it's like that's what do you like? It's
It's
nothing.
so
Like there's
surface.
nothing
Yeah.
out there. It's dumb. It's
Which
dumb.
I really do think what you're saying about how William is poking the holes, I do feel like that's also the dynamic of what, because like you have to ask yourself, why would these grown men, because they're all in their 20s, right?
Mhm.
Be like so excited about high school girls or very young girls. And it's
Yeah.
because these are women who they look at these men and they they idolize them. They're the fantasy,
Mhm.
and because real women are going to ask hard things of them, and for them to like get over their bullshit and be like
Mhm.
this game you're playing where you're going on, you have no real trajectory of doing real shit at this point.
Mhm.
Right.
And so that was also really interesting, like that Penny Lane could be a muse because it's almost making them feel safe and kid-like again, that they
Mhm.
don't have to adhere to the responsibilities or what's going on with the band, the dynamics there, you know, not taking responsibility is like the huge key factor of it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Give me
Yeah.
one more second. Sorry.
But it is definitely dumb. It's dumb. And
It's
it's fun.
it's gross, but yes.
And it's like it's funny about like I think about how many different sort of versions of this world exist of like we've kind of created this, I don't know, fantasy sphere and how many like academia is a lot like that, where like a lot of like really intelligent, intellectual people kind of set up these rules for like, okay, if you're in this role, this is what you do. If you're a full professor, you go here, you write here, you study this. And if you're a grad student, you have this relationship with the professors who write. And it's like there's this whole world. And it's like when you're in it, it's very like I don't know, infectious, right? There's like this desire of like I want to play this game. I want to like get into this world. And then when you get out, you're like what the hell were we doing? Like, what is
Yeah.
that? You know, like what that is,
I
that's
feel that
nothing.
I feel the same way with marketing too. Like our whole jobs is to make like telling a brand to be authentic. It's a brand. It's not a person. So how authentic could it be? But like putting all this stuff together and looking at I saw someone talking about Renee Rapp and how her being like the anti media trained is actually a marketing ploy. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
everyone, it makes you feel like she's just going on these press tours doing whatever she's wants, but there's a room full of people putting together how they're going to do this anti-establishment kind of thing,
Hmm.
thinking that yes, part of it is her being off the cuff, but she's very meticulous of knowing like exactly what she's doing. So I always find those like people like breaking that down from a marketing standpoint really cool.
Yeah. So to start out, we're introduced to William Miller. He's a young kid growing up in California in the late 60s. His mom, played by Frances McDormand, is a strict yet loving college professor. And it seems like she is very much fad of the times. So we see like at the beginning she has them on a very like
No sugar, no
yeah, no fun
music, nah.
diet.
It's almost like she's very religious, but not religious. It's
Right.
very Earth Mother vibes. Like
Yes.
the establishment is trying to get us and we have to get around it.
Yes.
And that is putting her at conflict with her eldest daughter, who's like, this, I can't deal with this shit. So she's secretly listening to music and, trying to bring in music. This woman is against Simon and Garfunkel. Funkel. How do you say Garfunkel?
Garfunkel.
Garfunkel.
Yeah.
It's the poetry of
It
pot and sex.
yes.
Yeah, and she's like, I was really struck by like kind of this whole sequence of introducing us to the Miller family. Like, it starts off with her leaving To Kill a Mockingbird, the film To Kill a Mockingbird with her son, and like getting really analytical about the characters and the dynamics of the family and everything. And I'm like, oh, this woman is using like science and intellect to kind of like fast track her kids into this like really narrow mold. And yeah, and
Yeah.
her the eldest very quickly is just like, I'm taking a hard right turn into art and poetry and expression and yeah, did not
Steward
go
being
well.
a stewardess.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I want to see the world and I want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm 18. It's just interesting to see their dynamic. I was excited that they were talking about To Kill a Mockingbird. I used to love that book. And just like Atticus Finch's morals, I think it's very interesting they start with that because it leads to where we see William become as him as a man, like
Mhm.
very kind of on par. because Atticus sees a societal thing that's not right. He's kind of in it, but then eventually he's fighting against it and he speaks to it, and he has his daughter kind of watching what he's doing. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it tracks because Francis McDormand really wants William to become a lawyer. His chosen profession is law. He's 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's that other like bonkers scene where they're driving and Anita, the sister, is like, you have to tell him, because he's talking about how like all the other kids are kind of bigger than him, but it's okay. He'll hit puberty soon and stuff. And she's like, you have to tell him. And Anita or the mom, Elaine, has lied to him about his age.
His
So
whole life. Yeah.
yeah,
So
his
he's
whole
like
life.
2 years younger than he thinks he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's just like, and at first she's like, well, I lied to you about your age, like you're a year younger than what I had said. But then she also like skipped him a grade, so that makes him even a year younger than that. And he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Finds out he's 11. And what grade is he in?
Probably a
Like,
freshman in high school, it seems
Yeah.
like.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
out of all the things like the mom is trying to protect her kids from, it's like you're sticking an 11-year-old with high schoolers. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen?
Yeah.
But then her thought process is, well, then you can go take a break. You can go to Europe. You could travel like after he graduates or whatever. Like, bitch, what are we talking about? Because
Oh,
I think I think the thing about school is like obviously you're learning, but there are social milestones that you're
Yes.
going through
mhm.
with other people. And her doing this, yes, he's going to be going to college earlier, but was it worth it for him to not being able to explore with kids his age? Now he's fucking on tour with
Yeah.
'Yeah,
20 something year
that decision
olds.
came back to bite the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like, as Anita put it, she's like, you've robbed him of his adolescence.
And
Like,
Elaine responds, adolescence is just a marketing tool. Jesus, lady. Yeah.
so Anita needs to get out. She does leave her record collection to William. She says to check under your bed, listen to Tommy with a candle burning, and you'll see your entire future.
Yeah. And we get like our first two big needle drops here. Like Anita plays America by Simon and Garfunkel and says like, this is explaining why I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And then we get Tommy by The Who that like does the montage of like, oh, William fell in love with rock and roll music. Like
Yes.
he went in deep.
So
Yeah.
now we see William as a teen. He's now 15. And he's writing
Is
here
it
and
Creed
there.
Creed
He's writing
magazine?
for his school newspaper,
Yes.
but he
Yeah.
loves reading Cream magazine, the local music magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's when he gets in touch with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. And he sees that he's a pretty good writer. So he offers him like 500 words at Cream about Black Sabbath. And so now William has to go to this Black Sabbath concert to write. But he isn't given credentials or anything. He's just dropped off by his mom, who just screams, "Don't do drugs."
And if you need me, do our whistle. Girl, we got a whistle?
Which, by the way, like that is a like Sarah and I will often, when we're leaving the house, just like randomly just scream, just like, don't take drugs. But like this is where I love Lester as Lester gives him the assignment, which by the way, he gives him $35 for 500 words, which is funny because like he very quickly like gets a next assignment after that. But like Lester like gives him advice of like you cannot be friends with rock stars. You have to be honest and unmerciful, which is I think kind of like I think Lester is trying to protect William. Like he's like these rock stars are going to play this game with you. Like Lester knows, like we were talking about, like this kind of facade, this game, this fantasy world that these rock stars live in. I think Lester's trying to say like don't do that, like don't get involved in that. But then he also says, but here, kid, go see what it's like. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Here we go.
Here we go. So yeah, then William goes to the Black Sabbath concert.
Can't get in the door. He's not on the list. And then he meets what he refers to as groupies and then is quickly corrected as band-aids.
We're here
So a
for
bunch
the
of these
music.
very young girls who are just following all these different bands around and having the time of their lives, pretty much.
Yep.
And so he's introduced to eventually Penny Lane comes out of the doors. No, it's not her.
No, first they all go
She comes through
inside.
the parking lot
Yeah.
and arrives in her faux fur jacket, and he is done. The boy is done after this.
But she is very kind, and she's like, I'm going to get in now. I'm going to try and find you a pass. I'll be back. But then Stillwater pulls up, and they're all going in, and William's trying to he's a fan. So he's like just trying to say what a fan he is, and they're not giving him the time of day. But then it was when he had like an insightful critique about their music that they started listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was able to name each member of the band and talk very specifically about one of their songs. We're like, oh, maybe this guy's not just a critic. Maybe
Yeah.
he's actually a fan. And if he's a fan, then let's bring him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as a fan, again, here comes again, as a fan, he kind of like props up the fantasy that we're trying to create for ourselves.
Exactly. Whereas like the viewer views it as like, oh, he kind of like called them out, and so they're respecting that, but really it's just, oh, this guy will idolize us. He can stay.
Yeah.
I do like that once he's inside, Penny does find him and she's like, I found you a pass. So like she made good on her promise. And then this is where I get a little confused because he's supposed to be writing about Black Sabbath, and he does not talk to Black Sabbath at all. He just talks to Stillwater. Like his fanboy like overcomes him, it seems. And he starts focusing on Stillwater, which they are a very interesting group of guys. And
Well,
they're
my guess would be that like so Black Sabbath arrived in a limo separate from their management and their gear and everything else. Stillwater arrived in a bus carrying their own instruments. Like I think I'm willing to bet that William learned very quickly he doesn't have access to Black Sabbath. Like he can't get to Black Sabbath, but he can get to Stillwater. Like they're at a tier lower that William can talk to.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, so William pivots on the fly.
And so he's trying to ask them questions, but it's like they kind of just keep like turning the conversation. So they're not really answering anything that William can use in his article.
Like, I love this is our introduction to Jason Lee's character as the lead singer. And this is such amazing lead singer, like arrogant but incompetent lead singer vibes, where he's like just rambling about rock and roll is gonna save the world and the chicks are great. And he's like trying to sound philosophical, but saying like the most stupid. Like, I'm like, oh, I've met this guy. I know this guy. Oh boy. Yeah.
I did want to talk about like obviously this movie being semi-autobiographical, that who the inspiration was for Penny Lane. So apparently it's like 3 different people potentially that could have like I would say it's Bebe Buell, who is Liv Tyler's mom, I believe. Pamela de Barres, and of course Penny Lane Trumbull, who Cameron Crowe actually did meet on his travels because he did travel with multiple bands. And then I think it's DeBarge who cascaded the film and said that Crowe didn't credit her influence on Penny Lane. And many of her issues were with the film. She thinks that Penny Lane doesn't embrace her groupie lifestyle, choosing instead to be called a band-aid. She also said that Crowe initially denied her influence on the character, only to later admit that she did partly inspire Penny Lane. And she's also criticized most of the iconic the most iconic scene in the movie when the tour bus sings Tiny Dancer together, saying that something like that would never happen on an actual rock tour bus. And her retelling of the rock scene paints a grittier picture. She said it just, the movie in general, kind of glossed over what the hell was going on.
Well, and I don't think we think that every single thing in here actually happened, but we are writing a movie, and so we need to have those like moments that we know are going to stick with people.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it, because we are dealing with a lot of underage sex and exploitation of minors
Right.
in this movie, like we can't make it as gritty as it probably was. It's going to be more glossy about the story of the band and William versus, yeah, pedophilia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever
And
oh, sorry.
no, and it's also like I can understand what she's saying because like these women, even though there were a lot of them were underage, this was like a lifestyle. This is something that they built together. They look at rock and roll and the music as a cohabitation. Like they very much were just as responsible as the musicians themselves, being inspirations behind it. So I think she looks at this as almost like a very kid-like washed version of her life. So I could understand her sticking up and saying that, but it's interesting. If you want to know more about their real life, there's a podcast, I believe, called Origins Almost Famous 20 years later or something like that. And then there's other documentaries and stuff you can watch if you want the grittier version. And for us, VH1, we used to watch all those behind the music and see that crap.
Yeah, I think about that a lot about the sort of tension. I was giggling while you were talking because I was thinking of Ben Affleck in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and we're not talking about you at all. They're talking about fictional characters. And I'm like, there is like a tension when you have like a semi-autobiographical or kind of like based on true story kind of things where it's like, yeah, like, I could see how the women who were of this scene and created this culture would want some level of like, genuine representation, like tell the story as it was. But on the other hand, I'm like, but it's not the story. Like this isn't your story. It's not a story
Right.
about you. It's a fictional semi. So like there's like a tension there, I think, of like I hear you, but also like Jackie said, like, but it's a story about William, like
Yeah.
and it's
And I think the difference is as like we all kind of knew this was loosely based on Cameron Crowe's experiences, but it was never touted as based on a true story.
right. This isn't a documentary.
It's
not a
not.
biography.
Whereas like what we find issues with Remember the Titans is because it is touted as based on a true story when almost all of it is more akin to Almost Famous. Like they took elements of that team and created a story around it. And so
Right.
that's the difference is like you're branding this as like this happened versus it's loosely based on my experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another person that was concerned about how they were being portrayed in the movie was actually Cameron Crowe's mother, because clearly Elaine is based off of his mother, Alice, who was a professor.
Mhm.
And so during the filming, she was very weary, and McDormand actually, Francis would say, assure her that it wouldn't be a caricature. And Anita was based off of Cameron Crowe's sister, Cindy, and the movie actually helped heal their relationship
Oh, that's
because they
nice.
were estranged.
I had
in real
read
life.
something where at first Cameron was trying to keep his mom away from Francis
Mhm.
because she didn't want his mom influencing Francis's character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so he tried really hard, but then he found them having lunch together at craft services, and you're just like, the fuck, mom? I was trying to prevent this from happening. So best efforts, but it did not work for him.
Mm-mm.
So we see Stillwater at the end of the night. Well, towards the end of the night, Penny and William start talking, and they do admit to each other that they're younger than what they're portraying.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just thinking about how like I think William keeps telling the truth. We never know really
No.
if Penny Lane is telling the truth. Like she might be 20 and just kind of keep lying to William to make William feel better,
Yeah.
right? Like we
Yeah.
never actually know how young she is because she is fully immersed in this game of like
Yes.
you just be whatever you need to be part of this environment. So I'm like, yeah, that scene is always really awkward to me. I'm like, I think Penny's always lying about
And
who she
that's
is and what she's
what
about.
William calls her out on towards the end of the movie is like, I don't even know your real name. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you're trying to be everyone to everyone, everything to everyone, and like,
Mhm.
just do something that's real to you.
Right.
Yeah. I think one thing that we learn in the end is that Penny Lane is way more advanced in what she's doing than even all the men in her life are aware.
Mhm.
They really just look at her as a groupie, and she says that what's his face is a project. Like she is
Yeah.
trying to purposely inspire, and no, she is no victim to any of this stuff.
Yeah. Which actually kind of like it segues into the end of this night of like, because yeah, Penny is I think really savvy in that like again, like here's this theme of like everybody's kind of creating this fantasy world. And I think Penny's very, very aware of her role in this world and how she could stay in this world. Like she wants to be a part of this very much. And I think she's like genuine and sincere, even though she knows it's all a facade. She knows it's a game. She knows her role and she's doing it very, very well and she doesn't want to leave. Like she doesn't want to do
Yeah.
anything real. She doesn't want it. She wants to stay in this. And I think William is kind of like, I don't know, I imagine like a cartoon character like following a perfume. Like he's like, oh,
Yeah.
that is something I want to be a part of. Even though Lester very specifically said, don't be friends with rock stars. He's like, but I could be friends with rock stars.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like,
Well,
he's
and
like, as he's leaving, he's like saying goodbye to everybody by name. And he's all like, he's buzzing. He's high
yeah.
off this
And he's been
environment.
invited to like the next performance. So he's like, I'm in, like, I'm friends, they like me. The other thing about Penny that when she does reveal that her name is Lady, it almost feels like her mom was
Also,
probably a
a groupie.
nomadic kind of free spirit. And this was Penny's way to control her world, probably coming from a world of no rules or like just free living. That's what I always interpreted from just her name is like,
Yeah.
that's not the name of someone gives if they are Elaine from San Diego.
Right. And also when her mom tells her that she gives her the name Lady because she wants her to marry like a rich
Yeah.
guy, kind of maybe to add stability, maybe
Hmm.
get the thing that even her mom has never had and
Yeah.
is able to provide. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now William is heading to, I think it's LA, and Russell tells William to tell Penny to come along.
Right.
So,
And she plays it off like she's not interested.
yeah.
She's about the music. Like, let's go to Morocco, she says
Yes.
instead. So she is making William think one thing. And it's not until the Anna Paquin character really sets William straight that bitch, as in the words of your goddess Taylor Swift, mastermind.
Yeah. Penny tells you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
So William goes to LA. How did the Rolling Stone offer come about?
They just called him at home. Like they read something that he had written in like the local
Oh,
newspaper.
yes.
And so they just called him and just asked him what he would want. And he pitched Stillwater. And so they're offered him $1,000 to write an article on Stillwater just from
Yeah, they
over the phone.
originally they say 700.
Yeah, and he's like jaw drops.
And just because he doesn't speak, they're like, all right, we'll give you 1,000. And what I also love about that is that his mom picks up the phone and says to fix the garbage disposal. Because like they kind of try to ask like how old he is, and before he could even lie, his mom saying that, he's like, "Oh, I know what it's like to deal with my old lady. You better go fix that." Like,
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm trying to see, okay, in 1973. I'm trying to see what $1,000 would equate to.
Oh, like,
oh,
yeah.
so
Inflation calculator, what's
Yeah.
$1,000 in 1973?
so while you're looking that up,
Yeah.
so he is excited. He's going to go on tour, and they give him the spiel, which is like, you pay for your own stuff, like don't let the band pay for anything, trying to keep it as the journalistic integrity as much in peace as possible.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, like, we saw the relationship between Anita and Elaine, her mom, and how tumultuous that was. It just feels like Elaine gives William way more wiggle room because Anita wasn't even allowed to really listen to music, and
Mhm.
she's allowing William to go on tour. I was really surprised that she doesn't give a harder time about it.
During
She
his
has
senior
rules.
year,
Yeah.
and he has exams and stuff. I'm like, okay, Elaine, what's going on here? Oh, it's 72, almost $7,300.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a senior in high school to write an article about music? Oh,
Right?
jackpot. Yeah. I bet it's just kind of like trying to imagine as a parent, like Elaine, like I think she probably realized that the way she ushered Anita into her like late teens was a mistake. Like the choices she made with Anita cost her Anita. And so she's gonna try and make different choices with William. But this feels like really overcorrecting. Like we're going
Yes.
way to the other side.
I also think it's the fact that Anita's a girl versus him being a boy too. I
Probably.
do think a lot of moms are a lot harder on their daughters. And then that's a lot of that is just knowing what it is to be a woman and how hard it is. And also you being with your second child, you're tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that come into play with the differences in the relationship. And I do feel like she can look at William and see herself in him a lot more than she could with Anita. And I think there's more trust with her and William. Like they just have a different kind of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So William goes on the road
He
with
Yeah.
does.
Stillwater.
Boards Doris, the bus, the tour
Yeah.
bus, and he's on his way.
The first stop, he gets there and he already has a crazy message from his mom. And this is where we see Eric, what is his name? Stone Street? Is that his
Yes.
name? The actor. And he's like, I've already had a time with your mother. She is
She freaked me
very,
out,
she
man.
freaked me out. Yeah. So he's already not on the great foot with that stuff.
And then
Yeah.
this is where we get a lot of the character development. So we get to see the band dynamic and then Penny's dynamic with Russell and Penny's dynamic and getting to know William and kind of all the
The
band-aids
dynamic
that,
between Russell and Jeff, I think, really
yes.
comes to light here because Jeff is very suspicious of William, where
Yes.
Russell seems to be much more inviting. And yeah, like I think all the complexities of human nature kind of come out, and it's all very surprising to William. Every
Yeah.
Yeah.
turn, he's like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah,
I
he's
love, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I just love that they call William for most of the movie the enemy.
The enemy.
Yeah. It's also interesting to see, yes, you were talking about Jeff and Russell's relationship,
Mhm.
but you see some of the other relationships with the entire band and then with their manager, Dick, and the shit Dick has to go through. And there are some statements that are kind of thrown out there about how really Dick's priority is Russell and just a lot of bickering and back and forth, which you could pick any band from this time period and say it's this band because they all go through this shit as they're becoming more popular. A lot of jealousy.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
really
well,
is. It feels like layers of coming of age stories, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
William is coming of age, Penny Lane and Russell are coming of age, the band Stillwater is coming of age. Like it's just like everybody's kind of going through these growths
Yeah.
together.
And Jeff is struggling because he, as the lead singer, should be like the one who is put up on that highest pedestal of Stillwater, and he can't handle that Russell is kind of being touted as the face of Stillwater because he's the lead singer. He writes the songs. He should be.
He's taking it so seriously. He's putting so
Yeah.
much work, and it just looks like Russell is effortlessly not giving a shit, but reaping all the benefits.
Exactly. It's almost, it feels like Fall Out Boy, where like no one realized that what's his face is not the lead singer.
Not Peter. Pete. Pete is not the lead singer. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of character development as we travel to all of these cities. We get to, is it Oklahoma? Where are we at Golden God?
Topeka.
Topeka,
real
Kansas.
Topeka people.
And he goes to this house party and they're just like dropping acid and like in this suburban house. And like this scene is so wild because I'm like, just imagine that you're just having a party, which actually has happened to me. So I don't know why I'm so surprised.
I was about to say, what do you mean you're surprised? This is our real life scenario.
Where a celebrity or like a singer just shows up at your house for like a house party.
Right.
And you're just like, cool. But we didn't recognize Aaron Carter when he showed up.
And I was too drunk to have to deal with the circumstances of how I treated that man.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to leave it.
Yes.
The story for another podcast.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll ever tell the story on this podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, just wild that this rock star is just walking into this random house party and the kids are just like, cool, red cups have acid in them, have fun. And then now he's on the roof of my house.
William looks like he's ready to shit his pants. He's so worried. He calls the manager, Dick, to tell him, like, I've got him, but he's on acid.
And then we get that iconic I am a golden god scene, which is ranked as one of the top 100 movie quotes. It's I am a golden god.
And apparently was inspired by a real incident with Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin.
Makes sense. I buy it. That tracks.
Yeah.
It is really interesting at this part of the story. Like I was watching it again of like, so this Topeka house party, like it was born of like the conflict over the t-shirt, right? Like the first t-shirt is printed and it's got Russell is in focus and the rest of the band is blurry and they have a big fight about it. And Russell is starting to realize like the the facade of being a rock star musician in this world is crumbling as soon as like emotions come out. And so he's like, I want something real. I don't want this fantasy rock star world anymore. I want something real. And he ends up in this on acid at this house party. And it's like, this ain't real either, dude. Like, you're
Right.
like, you're consuming all these substances in this very like, contrived kind of environment. It's like, you tried. Like I think he genuinely wanted not that, but he ended up in
He just wanted a cop out. This is
Yeah.
the responsibility aspect of it. He wants to be the aloof, cool guy and not have to deal with the real situation that's happening. Even though Jeff may be jealous, and that is something that Jeff needs to deal with within himself. And it really isn't William's fault that people are gravitating towards him, but there needs to be real resolution and conversation. Either we can't be in a band together because you're so fucking jealous about this, or we have to figure that, like, it's not my job to make you feel secure about yourself. And I don't know what else to do. I'm just playing the guitar. But, like, talk that shit out. Deal with it. But he doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want to deal with the reality that he is the face of the band. He is.
Yeah.
He's like, he probably doesn't get it. He's like, I'm not really doing much, but you are. And so maybe there's some responsibility with that as well. And yes, you could have talked to the label, to your manager. Like, this should have never even come to the band. And you should have taken responsibility, at least for that, instead of trying to like skim over it and be like, it's not that big of a deal. It is. That it was hurtful, not even just to Jeff. The rest of the band is not in focus. Like, you should be just as upset, but he doesn't want to live in that reality where he has to deal with that and the consequences. That's why he goes to go trip acid. Not because he's looking for real people. He's looking for people
Right.
who are not going to hold him to any expectations.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We also just see like Dick doesn't know what to do. He's like used to managing a small time band who has recently exploded, and he just doesn't have the resources to deal with all of these different conflicts that a more seasoned band manager has probably seen time and time again and has like a plan in place for it.
Yeah. The band has outgrown him,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the first time we start to see like, so everybody's coming of age and we're starting to realize like what it means to come of age is to like actually kind of understand our responsibility to other people and like recognize that like you were saying, Danielle, like, you know, everybody, like Dick included, the manager is like really trying hard to kind of prop up this sort of fantasy world, but it's like it's all a facade.
Yeah.
And if it's ever going to last with any kind of substance, like you have to just deal with the people around you. And I think like we're starting to see that I don't know, like that has to happen. Like they have to go there and they're just not. Everybody is working really hard to avoid that at all costs.
And I think this is whether it's your own personal journey, if businesses go through this, bands go through this, you're never going to be, if you're really truly growing as a human in this experiment called Earth, you are going through growing phases. And if you do not deal with the growing phases, that shit's going to be pulled from under you. And if you have a band that is becoming extremely famous, but you're not dealing with all your shit, it's actually going to prevent you from being able to shift into that new era. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to watch them kind of try to fight it as well.
And then on top of that, they're all on top of that, they're all in their like early 20s, early to mid 20s. And I am sitting on a podcast with 2 out of like the 5 people I still talk to from my 20s. So like to have a band and have this expectation is like you outgrow people sometimes. Yeah. And that's okay. But when you're kind of stuck in that, like we have this project together that we have to continue with, you have to deal with those dynamics. And maybe we aren't as close as we once were, but we still have to maintain that working relationship to make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just triggered by what Danielle said because my band broke up when we couldn't make that tier jump because one of our primary members couldn't grow up and deal with his shit, like his, his emotional stability and the relationships that he had. And he couldn't handle it. And so the whole thing just, like you said, just like the rug comes out from under and just the whole thing collapsed. And like, damn, it hurts when you don't just step up and recognize like what you're doing with and to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
and Stillwater's feeling it.
Yeah.
So we're back on the bus and everyone's pissed at Russell and they have every right to be. So everyone's kind of just sitting in silence. And then Tiny Dancer comes on. And so it's slowly one after another. People start joining in the sing along. And then it's this amazing cathartic bonding experience of all of us singing Tiny Dancer together.
I just realized how kind of like poignant this line is in this moment because while everybody is singing, William says to Penny, like, I need to go home. And she looks at him and she goes like, poof, you are home. And like this idea of just by singing Tiny Dancer on this bus, like we've recreated the facade, like we've rebuilt the home that we thought we had. Like this is what we're trying to hold on to. And William's like, this isn't home.
My mama keeps calling.
Yeah. And it's like, no, magic, it is. And it's like, that's Penny. That's not how this works.
Yeah. Some people really don't. Like, that's the thing about growth, too. Like, just because you're going through some growth and some of the people that you're with are not on the same, like some people need to hold on to the delusion until they're ready to see it
Yeah.
through. Some people try and they'll go their whole lives just wanting to be in the delusion. And so then that puts you kind of like where it says don't meet your heroes kind of thing, because and it's the same thing happens with kids with their parents. You know, there's always that moment where you realize, holy shit, my parents are just people who don't know shit either. That disillusion. And that's what happens during coming of age, right? Where you're fighting with your parents, or you're seeing your parents. And that's, I think, the moment you truly become an adult is when you start to realize that your parents don't know everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
Or
kind of
they're still figuring out their shit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when the veil is lifted and you realize adulthood doesn't, just because you get older doesn't mean that you are like magically smarter, wiser, or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like this tiny dancer scene on the bus is like really interesting because it like at this point in the story and like all of our stories as we come of age is like you kind of get these peaks sometime behind the veil where you're like, oh, that's what real life is like. And then I can fully understand everybody in this Stillwater world of going like, I actually like put me back on the bus. Like let's sing some Tiny Dancer. This is and like I don't know, maybe it's like because I teach like young college students that are kind of in this sort of coming of age zone. There's a part of me where I'm like, like if there is some magical adventure to be had, go on it. Like hold on to that. Like someday that real world is gonna like it's gonna be undeniable. Like you can't run away forever. But like if you have a chance to run away, like I kind of get like, oh yeah, singing Tiny Dancer on the tour bus really is a magical experience. Maybe don't go to the real world just yet.
And I think that's
I'm not saying it's the right choice, but I'm saying I get it.
No, I see that with like my siblings. I see them teetering back and forth between putting one foot of like you want adulthood, but then on the other hand, you want to stay in that cocoon of being safe as a kid. I don't know what just happened. Hold on.
No worries.
Your AI note taker has joined the chat.
Decline. Okay. But I think the other aspect that I think college is that for most young adults is that ability to kind of still stay in the in between, to still have those adventures. It's like a mini version of being an adult for some. Some people, unfortunately have their innocence pulled from them very early on and have a lot of responsibilities. But for a lot of us, you still get to live that in college. And if you're in college, don't rush.
Yeah. Or
take
if you're
your
like
time.
Take your time.
You stay
on
in
the bus, sing Tiny Dancer, like soak it in for just another minute.
So they continue to tour. We see glimpses of like what's happening at the hotel in between concerts. Penny is getting closer to Russell.
We also see Russell get electrocuted at an event. And I think this is where we finally realize that Dick really doesn't have the capabilities to deal with these kind of situations. And I think it's at the next venue that we're introduced to Jimmy Fallon's character, who is sent from the label to say, hey, your manager needs a manager, essentially. So Dick is still there, but now they have the support of the label, and now they are going to be flying instead of taking the tour buses so they can do more shows to make more money.
Yeah, because Dick's really good at holding together the facade and kind of like stroking everybody's egos to make everybody feel good, but he's not good at the business element of this, of like, how do we take this band to the next level and making money and, doing the work.
And that's okay. So I think everybody has a role, and there is a need for somebody to like calm everybody down and keep everybody happy so that the money keeps coming in.
Yeah. But if this is going to be a business, then we're getting into the real world, and we don't like that. I love Jimmy Fallon's Mick Jagger impression. Like that part just always cracks me up of like, if you think Mick Jagger's going to be out there at 50, still doing it.
But the irony of it is that he is.
He's 80 and still doing it.
Yeah.
Still doing that exact dance move that Jimmy Fallon did.
Just a little slower.
Yeah.
Then what else do we got?
They go to they go to New York, and this is where we get Leslie. Uh,
Yes.
Russell's
Yes.
Russell's girlfriend meets them in New York.
Is it his girlfriend slash ex-wife?
So there's a
It's the
rich
history.
history here.
And there's conversations that are being had about Penny not going to New York. And this is when William is starting to realize that like Russell don't give a shit about Penny, and he's trying to like wake Penny up. But what he doesn't understand is like Penny is not unaware
Mm-hmm.
of the situation. I think William is the one who's disillusioned and wanting people to behave the way that he wants them to behave, or how they should, quote unquote, behave. And he tells Penny, do not go to New York. Do not go to New York.
Like, you're gonna get hurt. Don't
Yeah.
go to New York.
But he's also trying to still, because is this around the same time where all the band managers are sitting around and like trading groupies for beer and money?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're playing poker, and Dick bets Penny Lane as part of the poker game because Dick knows that Penny can't go to New York, so
Yeah.
might as well pass her off to a different band.
And Russell agrees to it because Russell also knows Penny and Leslie cannot be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and then that's where William's conflicted because he wants to maintain that like trust and integrity with Russell, but also wants to tell Penny, like, this is not good for you. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot be around this.
Yeah, I think this the facade of being cool, I think
Yeah.
is, like everybody is really trying really hard to be cool. And even though Lester bangs, like, well, I guess that's later that Lester kind of really tells him about being cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, William's trying so hard to be cool, but it's like none of this is cool when you're
No.
like actually trying to deal with real people and real feelings.
Yeah. So we're sitting around and then Rolling Stone wants to put Stillwater on the cover. So,
Yeah.
but they're also pressuring William, like, because he's just sitting, like, at one point, he's sitting in a bathtub with just scraps of paper and like post-it notes, and he doesn't know, like, he's just jotting down experiences and like
Yeah.
quotes, and he doesn't know what to do with any of it or how to compile it in a way where the band is not going to flip out about his piece. And then this is also the scene where the rest of the Band-Aids are bored, so decide to take William's virginity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I hated this scene.
I'm like, was it a threesome? I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, they
Yeah.
still treat him like a little kid afterwards because he's got to
Yeah.
take care of the laundry.
But then, oh my God, how messed up. So he has this like non-consensual threesome.
Yes.
And then while he's asleep, Rolling Stone calls to say, we need your notes. This is going to be a cover. Like, so like his personal life takes a step up. His professional life takes a step up.
Yeah.
But then immediately is like, would you take out the laundry? And he's like, wait, what am I? Like, what is
Right.
this? And then also in that moment, like one of the girls that was dancing around him was Beth. But then as he's walking through the hotel, like hours later, he sees Beth in a hotel room with Dick. And he's like, I'm just like, this guy's world is just cracking all around him. Like he
Yeah.
must be spinning.
Yeah. Because he's been like in such this little bubble with Elaine for so long, and now it's just Technicolor and shit's fucking wild.
Yeah. At one point, there was a phone call with Elaine, and jokingly, Russell thinks he could just hop on the phone,
Yeah.
and she gives this man the business, and it's like, I ain't one of these little kids that you're hanging out with. Like, I'm a grown-ass adult, and let me tell you about yourself, and he hangs up that phone like
He was changed.
he was
Yes.
changed.
He's the second person that actually says, your mom kind of freaked me out.
Yeah. So that was like before he got electrocuted, I think, and then or around it was earlier. Then
Somewhere in there,
another
yeah.
conversation, she's talking to William, and Penny Lane is there, and I think Sapphire, somebody comes up and starts saying, alluding to
Yeah.
sexual things with Poor Thing and drugs. So
Mhm.
she is having a time. She is so upset. Wants
Yeah.
him to bring his ass home for
And
graduation.
and we also see like now it's graduation and he keeps saying like I'll be home for exams. I'll be home in plenty of time for graduation. She's sitting at his graduation and he doesn't show up because we are in New York and the band and Leslie are eating dinner and Penny Lane is at the same restaurant kind of just like mean mugging Russell. And so Leslie's like, who is that? She's like freaking me out. And so then Dick tries to go over.
And
Well, I
tell her
think
to leave,
they
essentially.
Yeah.
they blew the cover because like Leslie says like, "Who is that girl? Is she with one of you?" And like four guys all say like, "Oh, she's with me." And then
Yeah.
so Leslie's like, "Oh, I think they're covering for something."
Yeah.
Like she's no fool. She's like, "There's something y'all aren't telling me about this girl."
Yeah. So Dick tries to get her to leave. Penny's drunk at this point and she's just like beside herself. So she goes back to her hotel room and takes a bunch of, is it barbiturates?
Quaalude.
No, movie Quaaludes.
Quaaludes.
Yeah. And William, of all the guys at the table, William's the only one that chases after her.
Yes. And so she's like in and out of consciousness. He's trying to keep her awake. He calls for a doctor. They have to pump her stomach. Meanwhile, the other guys are just at dinner having a great time. Like she would have OD'd in that room by herself if William hadn't followed her.
Which, by the way, this is one of like, I don't know, a really, so there'd have been epic needle drops, like
Yeah.
really just fantastic soundtrack work this entire movie. But at this moment, when Penny Lane is getting her stomach pumped in the bathroom hotel, the song that's playing is My Cherie Amour.
Yes.
Like that's like really like sweet, like airy kind of like romantic song, and he's staring like heart eyes at Penny
Yeah,
Lane.
it's crazy. Like, it's almost like I can watch you get your stomach pumped and I'm still in love with you.
He
Yeah.
loves her so much. He really does. Which
Mm.
he's just a kid, but it's I was like that's funny and kind of sweet. And also
Yeah.
just I don't know, kind of like feeds into the whole I don't know, innocence of William. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's taking it so sincerely, but it's like, man, this world is bonkers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So she eventually takes a plane. Like they have conversations.
Mhm.
This is when she says that her mom named her lady and
Mhm.
stuff afterwards. And then she hops on a flight and she's leaving.
She goes
Uh,
home.
Yeah.
and it was like a culmination of things. All of her other band-aids have gone to other bands, and Russell with his wife, like everything kind of culminated in her wanting to. I don't know if she intended to truly off herself, but she's trying to not feel what she's feeling. It's like the
Exactly.
first
Yeah.
time we see Penny Lane not in control of her circumstances, which
Right.
is very interesting. And so after she leaves and William sees her off, literally chasing the plane inside the airport, watching her go, he too now is getting on an airplane with the rest of Stillwater,
Mm-hmm.
and they experience the turbulence of a lifetime, like where the cockpit door opens and they're like, yo, we don't know we're gonna die, like it's not good. And so then everyone just starts fucking confessing shit because they all think they're gonna die. Like
Yeah.
we hear that not Russell, Jeff admits that he slept with Russell's wife
And is in
Mhm.
love with her.
and is in love
Yeah.
with her. And she's like, get off that
Shut
shit.
up.
What you talking
Yeah.
about? It was one time.
Everybody slept with Dick's wife.
Yes.
Dick, oh
Uh,
my God.
Well,
Uh,
it starts with Russell telling the whole band that he's like, I didn't say this enough, but I love you guys. And then at one point, Jeff is just like, dude, we never loved you.
Yeah.
oh,
I'm like,
Truth bombs were happening. The drummer confesses that he's gay.
at the very end when he's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we're gonna die. And then the look on his face when the pilot's like, we're all right, y'all. We gonna make it. His face looks pale. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
also, is that his only line in the movie? I think
Yes.
I'm pretty
line
sure
he
I
speaks.
couldn't even figure out what his name was to look up the actor.
Yeah.
I'm like, no name. Jeff has problems with Russell being the face of Stillwater, but at least we know Jeff's name.
Yeah.
And then William just unloads on the band. Like, you guys
Yeah.
are ridiculous. You're living in this fantasy world and have like created these problems that aren't really fucking problems. Meanwhile, Penny Lane almost OD'd and had to get her stomach pumped, and y'all don't give a shit. And so,
Yeah.
like,
You're
William,
trying to trade her in a card game.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's just had it.
But it's not even just that about Penny Lane. He speaks to the fact that this is supposed to be about the music, it's supposed to be about your fans. Penny Lane is your biggest fan, and
Yes.
you treated her like dust. You know, the
Yeah.
people, and I think in this speech, he's also talking about himself. You know,
Yeah.
I'm watching you. I love what you guys are doing, but y'all are fucking stupid and wasting this opportunity and wasting it for the people who are ride or die for you. And you can't even
Yeah.
see yourselves. You're all with your inflated egos, essentially.
Yeah. And I think like he cuts to the core of the guys because I'd imagine most musicians, most bands like this, they start in a very authentic place
Yeah.
where the things they say, they probably really, really honestly did mean it at one point, but they've completely lost touch. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and William calls them out for that in a very, very harsh way, but deservingly.
So they land and they're all getting off the plane, and it's just this very melancholy as they're walking through the terminal. Just everything has been said, and they're just sitting with all of the truth they have received during that really intense plane flight.
Yeah.
And so William goes home, and he's kind of just been.
No, he goes
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
Rolling
He
Stone
goes to San
first.
That's right.
Francisco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're pissed at him. So he like about all the notes and like
Mhm.
the fact checkers like what the fuck is this? Like they're really raking him over and he's like, "You know what? Just give me some time. Let me rework it." And he does. He writes everything out. They're obsessed. They're rocking his jock at this point. And the fact checker has to call the band. The band is you see Jeff reacting to the article and Russell's like, it's no big deal. But then he hears some other stuff. And he's like, oh wait,
Oh
and it's
no.
actually Russell who says none of it's true. So
Yeah.
they can't even run it. It was supposed to be a cover story. They can't run it. Whatever. And this, I think, this was like the nail in the coffin for William.
Well, because as they got off the plane, Russell tells William, write what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
he
there's
gave him permission, and then like once the truth is in his face, he can't handle it, and so he
he
tries
denies
to
it.
sweep it under the rug again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a great moment in this scene where William and Lester are on the phone together,
Mhm.
and Lester, Philip Seymour Hoffman, drops like the whole movie in like one line. The only currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with people when you're uncool. And it's kind of like really encouraging William to just recognize like that whole cool world is really meaningless. Like there's no value in that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you gotta just let yourself be uncool and be authentic and honest and be yourself because none of us are cool. Nobody's cool. All you dear listeners of No More Late Fees, you're not cool.
No,
Like none of us are.
cool.
I
But
mean,
that's
I
like
think I'm pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that's the like I remember one of my speech and debate teacher in my undergrad, shout out Alexis Litsky, said like she introducing herself, she said like she was a huge debate nerd. She
Mhm.
absolutely loved debate. She would like eat, sleep, breathe debate. And she would say that like, saying something like that is horribly uncool. But she said, I love this gem. She's like the only thing that's not cool is acting like you're too cool for something that is cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I think like we now know that we're cool because we can embrace those parts of ourselves that are like, oh no, I'm way into this super geeky whatever it is, and like I love that about myself and I think it's awesome. But in the sort of like societal kind of like imaginary vision of what is cool, like there is nothing of substance there. And like the
Right.
more we try to be that, the worse off we are. And so we're better off just be uncool and just share your uncoolness with
And
everybody around you.
I think it's a like something when you talk about the generational divides. with our generation, we have room to be cringe. And, you notice a lot of Gen Zs are talking about millennials being cringe and all this other stuff. But we have we give ourselves enough room to be okay with being cringe. Like we're
Yeah.
okay with
Yeah.
embarrassing ourselves, where
Mhm.
their generation, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media and having a digital footprint, they're a little bit more nervous and don't have the same room to make mistakes, right?
Mm.
Because if you are living in a digital landscape, your mistake will live with you forever, right?
Yeah.
Just like club culture. I was just talking to my mom about this. Like, our generation was probably like one of the last generations to be able to really enjoy the club, because now if you're even if you do a funky weird dance move or whatever, it can be caught on video and people can make fun of you. And so
Yeah.
that fear of being made fun of is like holding people, like they're so concerned with being seen
Yeah.
that they can't be their authentic selves. It's always like this, what's the word? Facade
Yeah.
or
It's like a
okay.
performance always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an avatar,
Yeah.
avatars of themselves, So I remember when I started making TikToks for us, how hard it was to like come from behind the camera to, or even when we started the podcast, to kind of just remove myself from, is this going to be, how is this going to be perceived? The idea of being
Mhm.
perceived is so anxiety ridden if you let it take over you. So I get it. And I'm like, I could not have imagined this feeling in
Mhm.
my formative years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. But yeah, I think like Lester is basically telling William, like, don't let that stop you. Like, don't that the idea of being perceived and what is the band gonna think of me? Like he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't do that. Just
It's the
write.
integrity of your writing that really
Yeah.
matters, and
Yeah.
telling the story as truthfully as you can,
Yeah. And so
no
that's when
matter
William,
what light it sheds on any one person.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's when William writes like apparently a really killer story because
Yeah.
Rolling Stone is pumped about the thing that he
Yeah.
wrote, but the band denies the whole thing and
Yeah.
just ruins William.
And at the same time, Russell is missing Penny. So he
Yeah.
calls her at home. And there was like a line early on in the movie that the Penny and William live in the same town.
Mhm.
And so Russell calls Penny and is like, I need to see you. I need to talk to you. What's your address? And so Penny ends up giving, because like we know that all the band-aids are pissed that the band
Right.
refuted the article and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so she gives him William's address. And at first, Russell walks in and he thinks he's going to see Penny, and Anita's just standing there because Russell from Stillwater is in her house, and she's just like,
But
Hi.
before that, like the fact that Russell has denied the story, because he says to Rolling Stone, like, ask Russell. And they're like, Russell was the one who actually denied it. So that, like, you look at William at this point, he looks defeated, tired, just like he's given up, right?
Mm.
And that's where Anita, the stewardess, sees her brother randomly at the airport. And she's like, I'm gonna help you. We could spend one day together. We can actually spend time together. And he's like, what do you want to do? And he pretty much just forces her to go to the mom to their
Yeah.
"Mhm,
to the mom.
She says we could go anywhere in the world, and he's like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's why Anita's at the house. And like you said, Russell comes. He's very confused. He's thinking he's seeing Penny. He doesn't even recognize that this is William's crazy mom.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then it clicks for him when he sees Will, William's pictures.
yeah."
Yeah.
So, and then she's like, the mom's like, I know you. I
There's
know
hope
all
for you
about
yet,
you.
Russell Hammond.
Yeah.
She's now Russell's mom too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he goes into William's bedroom. William is just laying street clothes and shoes on the bed, like
Mm.
just completely distraught. And Russell does apologize and says he's going to validate the story and Rolling Stone know that every word of it is true. And then William's like, well, let's try this interview one more time, and like grabs his recorder and starts asking questions.
And then the scene finally culminates with the cover of the Rolling Stone with Stillwater on it, with the title essentially saying "A Band on the Rise."
Yep.
So you could tell that William does probably update the article a bit.
Yeah.
And then we see Penny
Yep.
trading in some tickets to go to Morocco. She finally goes to Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see a clip of the band performing on stage, and like Russell gives Jeff like a kiss on the cheek, like on stage. And it's like, maybe everybody is healing.
There's
Yeah.
hope for those two crazy kids, yes. And that is Almost Famous.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the name of the movie? Because I would have been fine if it was called Stillwater.
Well,
But
there is actually a band from the 70s named Stillwater. They did get permission, even though it's not based on them at all.
mhm.
They did get permission for their name to be used. So maybe because they didn't want it confused with the actual Stillwater band.
That makes sense. I
Yeah.
think I think in our notes here, the initial movie was supposed to be called Untitled, unless I missed that. Is that
No, I read that too, yeah. That's an awkward name
Yeah.
for a movie, but
Yeah. It's
I
usually
really
what, yeah.
yeah. I really like the name Almost Famous because it feels like, I don't know, like part of the theme of the movie of just like this kind of horizon that's sort of always fleeting, like
Yeah.
almost there, but you're never going to actually be satisfied when you get there. It's like
Yeah.
you're always almost there.
I feel
I,
like so many bands, even after they become famous, the thing that they miss the most or love the most is when they were struggling when they first started, which is
Mhm.
so crazy, right? Like everybody wants to become rich and famous, and then they're like, hate it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cameron Crowe based this film on his own experiences as a teenage rock journalist for Rolling Stone. He went on tour with bands like Led Zeppelin, the Allman Brothers, and Leonard Skinner. And I had read that Stillwater is mostly based on the Allman Brothers.
Hmm. Apparently, the bus scene with Elton John's Tiny Dancer is often cited as one of the greatest musical moments in film, but it wasn't scripted as a sing-along. Crow
Hmm.
just encouraged the cast to react naturally, and the bonding moment just worked. So,
I also read where Fugit by far was the worst singer, but he was also one of the loudest. So Cameron had to do a lot of work in post to bring down his singing so it didn't like take over the entire scene.
that's funny.
Love that. And yeah, this movie is just like the soundtrack on this movie is fantastic. Like the
Yeah.
needle drops are just expertly done. And Led Zeppelin is like famously very, very particular about who they let allow like use their songs. But apparently with Cameron Crowe's history as a rock journalist, he had a connection to Led Zeppelin and they gave him permission for 5 Led Zeppelin songs in this movie. And I remember in a School of Rock, Jack Black had to do this really over the top in a very Jack Black way, kind of like campaign to get Led Zeppelin to use one song. And Cameron Crowe makes a phone call and Led Zeppelin gives him 5.
Crows. So, like you said, there's an actual band called Stillwater, and they were signed to the same label as the Allman Brothers. And Crow spent 10 days following the Allman Brothers on their tour. Greg Allman initially denied Crow's accounts to Rolling Stone's fact checkers because he was more open to Crow about the toll of losing his brother than he expected to be. Eventually, he did corroborate the story, just as how Russell Hammond initially said William lied, only to later admit that what he wrote was factual.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Wilson of the band Heart, who was Crow's then wife, composed the original score and many of Stillwater's songs.
I didn't know this, but initially Brad Pitt was slated to play Russell Hammond,
Uh-uh.
but Famous had a shuffling act when it came to finding and locking down actors, and Pitt was one of the cards that fell out of the deck. when Crudup was cast to play Russell when Pitt dropped out, Crowe kept the Golden God quote despite him being a brunette. So it was initially was for Brad being a blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that either.
So there is an extended bootleg cut that runs almost 3 hours that adds more depth to Penny Lane and William's family life. And then Peter Frampton acted as a technical consultant for the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Cameron Crowe took home some hardware for this one with Best Original Screenplay, which I don't know what it was going up against in 2000, but it was really, really strong writing and just excellent, excellent movie, I thought.
I looked it up. I think Gladiator was one of the big winners that year. Crouching Tiger, Traffic. It was pretty steep competition that year in movies.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The music budget, I mean, you were saying how Led Zeppelin gave all that music and there's all these needle drops. The budget for the music alone was $3.5 million. So insane.
Oh, I did like at the end of the movie when they go back on tour, they're back on Doris, the tour bus, and the liner above the bus says "No More Airplanes Tour 1974."
Yeah. They were done with the planes after that,
Yeah.
which makes sense
Can't blame them.
considering.
Yeah.
No, not in the slightest. What else? Well, I think one of the ways that I first found out about Cameron Crowe was because I love, 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 love Heart. And I remember watching the behind the music on VH1, and Nancy Wilson of Heart was married to Cameron Crowe for a long time. And that's pretty much what I was like, oh, well, I love this man because he loves my Nancy. So then they divorced.
I mean, he wrote Jerry Maguire. Like he was, even if you didn't know him from like his musical background, like you knew him as a pretty prolific writer that had won awards in the past.
Yeah. Fast Time at Ridgemont High, Say Anything, Jerry Maguire, this movie. What was the other one we were talking about, Nick? Oh, Elizabethtown, which I still haven't seen.
Came later.
Yeah.
Yeah. This seemed like, to me at least, in my generation, peak Cameron Crowe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get in. Before we get into reviews, I just want to remind everybody to make sure that they're following along on social at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. Let's get to present day ratings. Nick, what is your present day rating of Almost Famous?
I would still buy it again. I mean, I think this is, I mean, it hits, there's a lot of nostalgia in this one for me, both for like when I saw it from, when I was 2000. I enjoy really well done coming of age stories, especially this one it's not just like, oh, a teenager becoming a grown up. There's like layers and depth to it. I don't know. I still had that same warm, fuzzy feeling when it was over of just like immediately feeling nostalgic for the movie that I just saw and like the scenes and the characters that I was not a part of. But like it still hit for me. So would buy it again.
Jackie?
I'm gonna go 5-day rental. I think if it's on, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. I still hold Penny Lane in high regard as like one of my favorite Kate Hudson performances. I think it was incredibly well acted. The cast is just phenomenal. So yeah.
Now that I've seen it, I don't hate it. I think it was a very, very good movie, like crafted, like the visuals, the writing. I didn't have a hard time watching it. Loved all the needle drops and the music and stuff like that. So I would say a 5-day rental. I say that because of the quality of the movie. I don't foresee myself watching this a whole bunch or ever again. Maybe I just it wasn't bad. It just, I don't know. I've seen it. I got to see it. I saw Almost Famous.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's it.
fair. Like I would maybe amend. I don't want to like change my rating, but I think it's fair in that like so I own it still. It's still on my shelf, but
Yeah.
I don't watch it. I haven't seen it in 10 or 15 years. I was really really glad to see that it still holds up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very good movie, but it's not like a comfort movie that I would watch all the time. It's not something I would necessarily reach for again, like you were saying, Danielle, but I don't know. I would say like if there's anybody out there in No More Late Fees Land that has not yet seen this movie, you should. You should see it. It's really good. See it once.
We,
Yeah.
when I started it, Ken's like, "Why are we watching this? This is a terrible movie." And I was just like, "Hold on, time out. Like, this is considered like one of the best movies of like the 2000s." And you're sitting here saying that it's a terrible movie. And so I was like, "Do you want me to turn it off? I'll watch it another time." He was like, "No, no, no, no." And then we finished, he's like, "Yeah, that is a good movie. I realized I only watched half of it." Like, well, that makes a difference
Yeah.
then. And I feel like it's just one of those movies where it's a like it's a great movie, but it's not going to be one of those movies you watch over and over and over again. It's an
Yeah.
experience, and once you've experienced it, you can be like, yeah, like if you haven't seen it, let's sit down and watch it together, but it's not going to be something like, I don't know what to watch. Let me throw on Almost Famous.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
So if you have any comments, hit us up at our quick drop 909-601-6653. You can also text us at that number, twat us at the Twitters, hem us at the Threads, butterfly in the sky at Blue Sky, and you could be featured on a future episode.
Spooky season, everybody, with Urban Legend. So don't miss it next week. And Nick, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, it wasn't that bad this time, right?
No, 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 no. Hey, just because I can't let it go, and I have to say one thing. So I saw a tweet go by that said that Almost Famous was filmed in 2000, set in 1973. If it was filmed in 2023, the equivalent might be following the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones while they go on the Vans Warp Tour. Would you watch that coming of age movie of an up and coming ska band on the Vans Warp Tour? Would you
Yeah.
watch that today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Ska now more than ever.
And as always, be kind and rewind.